My best friend Bill sold everything and moved to Phoenix for retirement. Desert paradise, endless sunshine, golf year-round. 18 months later, he was back in Ohio, 20 pounds lighter, clinically depressed, and $50,000 poorer. At 69, I've watched dozens of friends chase retirement dreams to cities that looked perfect in magazines, only to discover they'd moved to places actively hostile to aging bodies and fixed incomes. These aren't bad cities, they're wonderful for young professionals and families. But after 65, what works at 35 can become a daily struggle. Before I share these hard-learned lessons, let me be clear. Millions of seniors live happily in these cities. Your experience depends on your health, wealth, social connections, and adaptability. What devastated my friend might work perfectly for you. These are observations from my social circle, educated, middle-income retirees who thought they'd done their homework. Cities change, circumstances vary, and one person's nightmare is another's dream. But if you're considering these destinations, know what my friends wish they'd known before selling everything and moving. Phoenix, Arizona broke more retirement dreams than any city I know. The marketing is brilliant. Sunshine, desert beauty, endless golf, no snow to shovel. Bill arrived in June, thinking he'd adapt to the heat. By August, with temperatures hitting 118 degrees, he was prisoner in his air-conditioned condo. His electric bill hit $400 monthly just to keep the place livable. From May through October, he couldn't walk his dog after 6 a.m. or before 9 p.m. without risking heat stroke. The golf courses he'd dreamed about? Unplayable 4 months a year unless you teed off at 5 a.m. But heat was just the beginning of Phoenix's challenges. The city sprawls endlessly with no real center, no walkable neighborhoods, no sense of community. Everything requires driving, often 20 or 30 minutes in traffic. Bill didn't realize how isolated this would make him. No casual walks to coffee shops, no spontaneous meetings with neighbors, no public transportation worth using, just endless strip malls and 6-lane roads designed for cars, not humans. The friends he'd hoped to make at the golf club? They escaped Phoenix every summer, leaving him alone in the heat. Healthcare in Phoenix surprised him too. Yes, there are excellent hospitals, but getting appointments with specialists took months. The good doctors were booked solid with the massive retiree population. Emergency rooms overwhelmed. His Medicare Advantage plan that looked great on paper had few participating providers. When he needed cardiac care, the wait was 16 weeks for a consultation. In Ohio, he'd see his cardiologist within days. The final blow was financial. That reasonable condo price didn't include the reality of Phoenix living. HOA fees that jumped 40% in 1 year. Special assessments for roofing damaged by sun. Constant air conditioning costs. Water bills that tripled during drought restrictions. Restaurant prices inflated by tourist demand. Gas for the constant driving. Bill budgeted for a lower cost of living, but found Phoenix ate money faster than Cleveland ever did. Las Vegas, Nevada, seduced my friend Carol with no state income tax and entertainment galore. She lasted 13 months. The surface glitter hides a city profoundly unsuited for aging. Beyond the Strip, Las Vegas is strip malls and suburban sprawl with Phoenix's heat and none of its charm. The healthcare system is among the worst in the nation for senior care. Nevada ranks 48th in physicians per capita. Carol waited 7 months for a rheumatologist appointment. When she needed physical therapy, the closest available appointment was 40 miles away. The social isolation in Las Vegas shocked Carol most. The transient nature of the city means no stable communities. People come and go constantly. Her neighbors were either young service workers pulling night shifts or other retirees who stayed indoors. The entertainment she'd looked forward to? It's designed to separate tourists from money, not provide community for residents. Shows cost hundreds. Restaurants cater to expense accounts. Even grocery stores inflate prices because they can. Crime became Carol's daily concern. Not on the Strip, but in regular neighborhoods where seniors live. Package theft was constant. Her car was broken into twice. The meth problem meant unpredictable people in public spaces. She stopped walking her neighborhood after encountering too many unstable individuals. The city that never sleeps doesn't care about seniors who need safe, quiet communities. Water insecurity looms over Las Vegas's future. Lake Mead drops every year. Water restrictions tighten. Costs skyrocket. Carol realized she'd tied her retirement to a city that might not have adequate water in 10 years. The uncertainty alone caused anxiety. Add the smoke from increasing wildfires, the traffic from endless construction, and the complete car dependence, and Las Vegas revealed itself as retirement fool's gold. Miami, Florida seemed perfect for my cousin Janet. Beaches, culture, no state income tax, proximity to excellent healthcare. She bought a condo in 2019. By 2024, she was desperately trying to sell. Miami has become unlivable for middle-income retirees. Her property taxes doubled in 4 years. Homeowners insurance went from $3,000 to $12,000 annually after recent hurricanes. Some companies stopped writing policies entirely. Her HOA fees tripled for hurricane repairs and preparations. The cost explosion in Miami extends beyond housing. Groceries cost 40% more than the national average. Restaurant meals that cost $20 in Ohio cost $40 in Miami. Parking, if you can find it, runs $20 minimum. Janet's fixed income that seemed adequate became poverty level in Miami's inflated economy. She jokes bitterly about eating ramen in paradise. Traffic in Miami destroys quality of life for seniors. Every errand becomes a battle. Aggressive drivers, constant construction, confusing road patterns. Janet stopped driving after 2 minor accidents and near misses with drivers running red lights. But Miami's public transportation is inadequate for seniors. The distances are too great, the heat too intense, the system too unreliable. Uber costs $800 monthly just for basic errands. Climate change makes Miami's future terrifying for seniors on fixed incomes. Sea level rise is measurable, not theoretical. Flooding happens regularly now, not just during hurricanes. King tides turn streets into rivers. Hurricane season extends longer each year. The beautiful beach condo Janet bought, it's becoming an expensive, dangerous liability. Insurance companies know what's coming. They're pricing accordingly or leaving entirely. The healthcare situation in Miami frustrates even wealthy retirees. Yes, excellent facilities exist, but accessing them requires navigating a complex, overwhelmed system. Tourist medical needs compete with residents. Specialists book months out. Emergency rooms overflow with uninsured patients using them for primary care. Janet's supposedly excellent Medicare Advantage plan had narrow networks that excluded the best doctors. When she needed knee surgery, the wait was 8 months unless she paid cash. San Francisco, California, destroyed my brother Tom's retirement dreams faster than any city. He'd lived there 40 years, planned to age in place. By 67, the city he loved became impossible. Those famous hills aren't charming when your knees deteriorate. Every walk becomes a mountain climb. Public transportation requires walking to stops, often up steep grades. Tom developed vertigo and couldn't navigate the slopes safely. The beautiful Victorian he'd bought in 1985? 3 flights of stairs, no elevator possible. The homelessness crisis in San Francisco traumatizes seniors particularly. Tom isn't unsympathetic, but dealing with human waste on sidewalks, aggressive panhandling, and mental health crises on every block wore him down. He stopped walking his neighborhood. The parks became unsafe. Public transportation felt dangerous. His world shrank to his apartment and Uber rides he couldn't afford. Cost of living in San Francisco passed absurd long ago. Tom's property taxes on his paid-off house hit $30,000 annually. Utilities for a small home ran $600 monthly. A basic restaurant meal cost $50. Grocery prices doubled national averages. His retirement income, that would be comfortable anywhere else, became subsistence in San Francisco. He was house-rich but cash-poor, unable to maintain the home he'd worked 40 years to own. Healthcare in San Francisco should be excellent with UCSF and other top facilities, but accessing care requires navigating Byzantine systems, fighting insurance bureaucracies, and waiting months for appointments. Parking at medical facilities costs $30. Getting to appointments without driving means expensive ride shares or dangerous public transportation. Tom needed cardiac care, but couldn't manage the logistics of regular appointments across the city. The breaking point came when Tom realized he was prisoner in his own home. Too expensive to maintain, too valuable to abandon, too difficult to navigate. The city that represented freedom in his youth became a beautiful jail in his retirement. He sold for $1.8 million, which sounds like wealth until you realize that buys a modest apartment in the same city. He moved to Sacramento, mourning the San Francisco that exists now only in memory. Rural Montana attracted my friend Robert with its stunning beauty and low costs. He bought 40 acres outside Whitefish for the price of a Miami parking space. 2 years later, he sold at a loss and fled to Spokane. Rural retirement sounds idyllic until you're 70 with chest pains and the nearest cardiac unit is 3 hours away in winter conditions. Robert's mild heart attack became a near-death experience because of distance from care. The helicopter evacuation cost $40,000, partially covered by insurance after months of fighting. The isolation Robert sought became imprisonment. 20 miles to grocery stores, 40 to decent restaurants, 60 to serious shopping. In summer, manageable. In winter, potentially deadly. Montana winters don't care that you're 70 with arthritis. Snow doesn't stop for senior citizens. Robert spent 5 months essentially housebound, dependent on neighbors for supplies when roads became impassable. The self-sufficiency required for rural living works at 50, not at 70, with declining strength. Healthcare access in rural Montana goes beyond distance. Finding doctors accepting Medicare becomes a quest. Specialists don't exist locally. Robert drove to Missoula monthly for diabetes management. Dental care meant Spokane trips. When he needed cataract surgery, the logistics resembled military operations, winter driving, hotel stays, multiple trips. The money saved on property taxes vanished in travel costs and time. Social isolation in rural Montana hit Robert harder than expected. The neighbors were friendly but scattered, busy with their own survival. No senior centers, no activities for retirees, no casual social interaction. Weeks passed without real conversation. Internet promises connectivity, but can't replace human contact. The magnificent wilderness that attracted him became a beautiful prison of loneliness. Infrastructure in rural areas deteriorates as you age. That gravel road becomes treacherous. The well needs maintenance you can't perform. Septic systems fail. Power outages last days. Internet barely functions. Prop pain delivery in winter becomes questionable. Robert discovered that rural living requires physical capability he no longer possessed. The romance of country life crashed against the reality of aging bodies. New York City seduced my sister Patricia with culture and excitement. At 70, she discovered the city that never sleeps doesn't accommodate those who need to rest. The subway system, pride of public transportation, becomes a nightmare for seniors. Stairs everywhere. Broken elevators constantly. Escalators that don't work. Patricia developed knee problems and suddenly couldn't access half the stations. When elevators existed, they reeked of urine or housed homeless individuals. The gap between platform and train terrified her after watching another senior fall. Walking in New York, once Patricia's joy, became an obstacle course. Broken sidewalks, construction everywhere, crowds that push and shove, delivery bikes speeding on sidewalks. Ice in winter that doesn't get cleared. She fell twice, once breaking her wrist. The walking city doesn't care if you can't walk fast enough. Crossing lights timed for young legs. No benches for resting. No public bathrooms. The cost of New York living devastates fixed incomes. Patricia's rent-controlled apartment seemed like gold until she realized everything else costs fortune. Groceries delivered because she couldn't carry them. 30% markup plus tips. Taxis because subway became impossible. Hundreds monthly. Restaurants because cooking for one in a tiny kitchen depressed her. Thousands annually. Her comfortable retirement budget became paycheck-to-paycheck survival. Healthcare in New York should be world-class. And it is, if you can access it. Patricia's doctor retired. Finding another accepting Medicare took 4 months. Specialists book 6 months out. Excellent hospitals exist, but emergency rooms are war zones. She waited 14 hours with broken wrist. Getting to appointments means expensive taxis or impossible public transportation. The concentration of medical excellence doesn't help when you can't reach it. Apartment living in New York ages badly with you. Patricia's 5th floor walk-up became impossible after knee surgery. Moving meant losing rent control, tripling her costs. The apartment that charmed at 50 became a trap at 70. No laundry in building. Groceries up 5 flights. Garbage down 5 flights. Mail theft constant. Package delivery problematic. The super who helped elderly tenants retired, replaced by someone who didn't care. Orlando, Florida, surprised my friend David with its unsuitability for retirement. Theme Park City sounds fun until you're competing with 40 million tourists annually for everything. Roads clogged with lost tourists. Restaurants packed with families. Medical facilities overwhelmed during peak season. The Florida resident discount doesn't offset the tourist inflation affecting everything else. Hurricane season in Orlando brings inland flooding few expect. Not coastal storm surge, but rainfall, overwhelming inadequate drainage. David's home flooded twice, insurance battles lasting years. The heat and humidity rival Miami, but without ocean breezes. Air conditioning runs constantly, May through November. Mosquitoes make outdoor living impossible much of the year. The Paradise marketing doesn't mention you'll live indoors 8 months annually. Transportation in Orlando requires a car for everything. Public transit essentially doesn't exist beyond tourist areas. The sprawl rivals Phoenix. Senior living facilities cluster far from anything interesting. David found himself driving constantly in tourist traffic, aggressive rental car drivers, and confused internationals. After 2 accidents, he stopped driving. Uber costs made him prisoner in his suburban development. Social life in Orlando proved impossible to build. Neighbors were either young families focused on children or other retirees who stayed inside. The transient tourist economy means little stable community. Activities center on theme parks, unsuitable for seniors. Cultural amenities exist, but require navigating tourist zones. David joined a senior center, but found it depressing, filled with people marking time rather than living. Healthcare in Orlando seems adequate until you need it. Tourist medical needs strain the system. Good doctors book months ahead. Emergency rooms prioritize tourist emergencies. David's cardiac event got delayed treatment because the ER was handling theme park injuries. His Medicare Advantage plan looked great, but had few quality providers. When he needed hip replacement, the best surgeons didn't accept his insurance. Los Angeles, California, broke my friend Susan's heart and bank account simultaneously. The city of dreams becomes a nightmare when you're 70 on a fixed income. The car dependence is absolute. No driving means no life. But Los Angeles traffic traumatizes senior drivers. Aggressive speeds, complex interchanges, constant construction. Susan had 3 accidents in 18 months. Lost her confidence, then her independence. Cost of living in Los Angeles shocks even wealthy retirees. Susan's apartment rent increased 60% in 5 years. Gas prices highest in nation. Parking costs everywhere. Groceries priced for Hollywood salaries. Restaurant meals that cost $30 elsewhere cost $60 in LA. Her retirement income that seemed generous became inadequate. She jokes about being a poverty-stricken retiree in paradise. Air quality in Los Angeles deteriorates annually. Wildfire smoke joins regular smog. Susan developed respiratory problems she'd never had. The beautiful weather comes with air that hurts to breathe. Exercise becomes impossible many days. Windows stay closed. Air purifiers run constantly. The outdoor lifestyle that attracted her became indoor existence. Earthquake risk in Los Angeles grows more concerning with age. Not just the big one, but constant smaller shakes that terrify and destabilize. Susan's apartment building is retrofitted but still sways. The emergency preparedness required exhausts seniors. Water storage, food supplies, medication reserves, evacuation plans you can't execute without a car. The constant underlying anxiety wears you down. Social isolation in Los Angeles surprised Susan. The city sprawls so vastly that friends live hours apart in traffic. No neighborhood gathering spots. No walkable communities. Everyone in their cars, their homes, their private worlds. The entertainment capital offers plenty to do if you can afford it and navigate it. Susan found herself alone in a city of millions, unable to connect or build community. After watching friends fail in retirement paradises, patterns emerged. The cities that seduce with marketing often punish with reality. But some friends found unexpected success in overlooked places. My colleague Martin thrives in Pittsburgh. Medical excellence, cultural richness, manageable costs, actual seasons without extremes. His retirement dollar stretches while maintaining quality of life. The city that young people flee welcomes seniors with infrastructure and community. Asheville, North Carolina, works for my friend Barbara. Despite recent challenges, the mountains provide beauty without isolation. Healthcare is excellent without urban chaos. The arts scene rivals larger cities. Costs increased recently, but remain manageable. The climate allows year-round outdoor life without extremes. She walks everywhere, knows her neighbors, and found community immediately. Not perfect, but livable in ways Phoenix never was. Madison, Wisconsin, surprised my brother with its retirement suitability. University town, energy without chaos. Excellent healthcare through university systems. Cultural amenities year-round. Walkable neighborhoods with actual sidewalks. Real public transportation. Winter is harsh, but manageable with proper infrastructure. Costs remain reasonable. Senior programs abound. He found intellectual stimulation and social connection missing in Florida's retirement communities. The lesson from these failures and successes: test before committing. Rent for 6 months, spanning different seasons before buying. Use public transportation before assuming you'll drive forever. Shop for groceries, find doctors, explore neighborhoods. Live like a resident, not a tourist. My friends who succeeded did trial runs. Those who failed bought based on vacations and dreams. Financial reality checking prevents disasters. Calculate everything, not just housing. Include utilities inflated by climate. Transportation when you can't drive. Healthcare beyond Medicare. Home maintenance you can't perform yourself. Emergency reserves for assessments and disasters. Property tax increases. Insurance in climate risk areas. My failed friends underestimated by 50% or more. Healthcare access determines retirement quality more than any other factor. Not just proximity to hospitals, but specialist availability, Medicare acceptance, appointment wait times, emergency response capabilities, research beyond marketing claims. Call practices yourself. Check insurance networks. Understand transport to appointments. My successful friends prioritized healthcare access over weather and amenities. Social connection possibilities matter more than you expect. Can you walk to gatherings? Do senior programs exist beyond bingo? Are there intellectual opportunities? Can you build friendships or just acquaintanceships? Is the community stable or transient? My lonely friends withered regardless of location beauty. Those who found community thrived in supposedly inferior places. Physical infrastructure for aging bodies determines daily quality of life. Sidewalks that exist and get maintained. Public transportation actually usable by seniors. Stores accessible without driving. Bench availability for resting. Public bathroom existence. Elevator reliability. My friends in paradise often couldn't navigate their environments. Those in ordinary cities with good infrastructure lived fuller lives. Climate reality versus marketing matters enormously. Phoenix markets sunshine, not heat stroke risk. Miami sells beaches, not hurricane insurance crises. San Francisco promotes culture, not hills that become impossible. Research actual daily weather, not averages. Understand extreme events increasing with climate change. My successful friends chose moderate climates over marketed extremes. Exit strategies prevent trapped misery. Can you sell if needed? Will buyers exist as climate changes? Can you afford to leave if it doesn't work? What's your health backup plan? My trapped friends never considered escape routes. Those who succeeded always had Plan B. The cognitive load of different cities varies enormously. Some places exhaust you with complexity. Navigating New York, surviving Phoenix heat, managing San Francisco hills. Others allow easy living. Predictable Pittsburgh, manageable Madison. As we age, reducing cognitive load preserves energy for living. My exhausted friends spent everything on survival. Successful ones had energy for enjoyment. Community types affect senior life profoundly. Tourist cities cater to visitors, not residents. Retirement-marketed cities often lack authentic community. University towns offer intellectual stimulation. Former industrial cities have infrastructure and services. My friends who chose based on community type rather than marketing succeeded more often. The technology divide affects city livability increasingly. San Francisco assumes tech comfort. Rural areas lack connectivity. Some cities require apps for everything. Others maintain human alternatives. My tech-comfortable friends had more options. Those struggling with smartphones found themselves excluded from city services. Transportation transitions determine independence. Cities requiring cars become prisons when you can't drive. Those with senior-friendly public transport maintain freedom longer. Walkable neighborhoods preserve autonomy. My friends who planned for not driving aged better than those assuming eternal car access. Housing flexibility affects aging in place. Can you modify for accessibility? Add grab bars, install ramps, change from tub to shower. Some cities and HOAs prevent modifications. Others support aging in place. My friends in flexible housing stayed independent longer. Economic diversity in cities affects senior services. Single industry towns lack resilience. Tourist economies price out residents. Diverse economies provide stability and services. My friends in economically diverse cities found better services and community support. Regulatory environments affect senior life surprisingly. Some states protect seniors aggressively. Others allow exploitation. Property tax freezes, rent control, utility assistance vary enormously. My friends who researched regulations avoided nasty surprises. Cultural attitudes toward aging vary by location. Some cities respect and accommodate seniors. Others worship youth exclusively. The difference appears in infrastructure, services, and daily interactions. My respected friends thrived. Those treated as invisible withered. The myth of perfect retirement location causes more misery than any single factor. No place is paradise. Every location requires trade-offs. Understanding and accepting these prevents disappointment. My happiest friends chose good enough over perfect. They adapted rather than expecting locations to meet all dreams. Personal factors override location features. Health status, financial resources, social skills, adaptability determines success more than city choice. My resilient friends succeeded anywhere. Rigid ones failed in paradise. The best city for you depends on who you are, not just where it is. The recovery possibilities from bad choices vary. Some friends escaped easily, selling quickly and moving on. Others trapped themselves with unsellable property or depleted resources. Consider recovery potential before committing. My friends who maintained flexibility recovered from mistakes. Those who went all in suffered longer. Here's what I learned from watching dozens of retirement relocations. Research beats marketing every time. Test before committing always. Prioritize healthcare and community over weather and amenities. Plan for declining capabilities, not current ones. Maintain flexibility and escape routes. Accept that nowhere is perfect. The friends who succeeded shared traits beyond location choice. They researched thoroughly, they tested extensively, they prioritized practically, they maintained flexibility, they built community actively, they adapted readily. Location mattered less than approach. The ultimate lesson from these experiences: the best retirement location might be where you already are with modifications. The devil you know often beats the paradise you don't. If you must move, choose boring practical over exciting impractical. Your 70-year-old self will thank your 65-year-old self for choosing wisely. At 69, having watched these dramas unfold, I stayed put. Not because my location is perfect, but because I know its imperfections. I've built community over decades. I know which doctors accept Medicare. I understand the transportation system. The grass isn't greener in retirement paradise. It's often artificial turf that looks perfect from distance, but provides no actual nourishment. Your retirement location decision affects everything that follows. Don't make it based on vacation memories or marketing dreams. Make it based on practical assessment of how you'll actually live daily as you age. The paradise that breaks your friends might work for you. The ordinary city they flee to might be your nightmare. But knowing these patterns, these failures, these successes, you can choose with eyes open rather than dreams clouding vision. Choose wisely. Your future self depends on it.